I'm Jackie.
And I'm Ashley. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Hello.
Hi, darling.
Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Welcome. Welcome to the clubhouse.
I feel so welcomed. We have an action-packed episode today.
Oh, action-packed.
Yes.
I like that. Why does that sound so like 90s? I love it.
It does.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm also like quoting Pee-wee's Big Adventure, you know, like when they're watching the movie at the end and he's like, it's action-packed.
Yeah.
Not Pee-wee doesn't say that. Anyways, okay, whatever.
Yes, I know.
Tangent City. My point was to be focused on we have an action-packed episode today.
Yes, I love it.
Ooh, hello. Okay, so we have an amazing card pull.
Yes.
We have a short and sweet why, though.
Yeah.
And then we have...
New sign. Who dis?
Gemini.
Yay!
I think we're going to be super twinning this entire
We
episode.
just did that and then did the same laugh. Like, the same laugh.
Yeah, it's going to be creepy, you guys. Just wait. Not because Gemini is creepy, but because we're going to we always get into, we embody it, we get into it. It's going to be eerie. So
I love it.
It's going to be fun.
I love it. And a Gemini would love it.
A Gemini would totally love it.
Yeah, they'd be like, let's do this.
Yeah. They're like, this is going to be weird. Let's do it.
Yeah, this is going to be
let's
super
talk
weird.
about it.
Totally. I love that.
Yay. Okay, let's do an amazing card pull with our amazing deck today.
I love that you are already broadcasting that this is going to be amazing.
I can just tell. I don't know what it is. I can just tell.
That made me happy that you said that and you put that intention in it.
Well, but okay, I would like for you to pick the card again.
Okay.
Because there was a moratorium on Ashley picking the cards.
Yeah.
Because out of multiple decks over several weeks,
yeah,
she kept picking the same card, which is fine and good. Yeah. Yet we wanted something different. So then I was picking the card. But now I want you to pick the card.
Well, and the last time I picked, I think it was really good.
It was so good.
Yeah. So I think I'm back on track. Obviously the universe was like, you need to hear this, and I don't care how you hear this message, but you need to, so you're going to pick it every time.
Yeah, but then it was also like, okay, we don't need to hear it anymore.
Right.
And now it's like, now you're ready for new messages.
That's right.
So I know you were shuffling the deck, which is totally fine, but do a little shuffle as well before.
Love it.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, and I brought the Iris Oracle deck, by the way.
Yes. This is a favorite of ours if you haven't noticed.
Yes, we love it.
Yes. What's calling to you, darling?
This one.
All right.
No one is yours but you.
Wow. No one is yours but you. Okay, let's describe the artwork on here. It's kind of complex artwork, to be honest. There's kind of these two open hands that are joined by a heart, and then there's open like this to another heart in the middle, and there's three eyes.
And lots of sunbursts,
bursts of color, around it. So I think the thing that I'm seeing first of all, which ties in with the Gemini, is there's sort of this mirror image happening, where there's two sides kind of doing the same thing.
And a balance of the elements,
totally.
Which I really like. I love that there's three eyes and sort of how all the elements are balanced together in the center, but across that line of symmetry.
So what do we think of that message? No one is yours but you.
Well, I mean, this might kind of get into the what's going on right now and the why though and everything like that, because I feel there's been a lot of kind of conflicting, contradictory messages, right? Just, I have felt this way. I don't know if other people have felt this way, but being pulled in kind of different directions.
And so you're talking about maybe eclipse season and maybe the retrogrades and that type of stuff has been pulling on you and maybe everyone to some extent.
Yes, and I've been having some interesting conversations, not even the best conversations, where it has felt like people were really applying a lot of their own personal feelings and projecting them onto me. And I'm sure other people can identify, because I think that happens a lot in seasons like this, because people can't handle it within themselves.
Right, so they project it outwards to process it. Yeah.
And I have found, though, that I feel at least for me personally, I feel this card is a a reassurance that I'm doing the right thing, because in one particular instance that happened, I found myself just being very calm and like very like, this has nothing to do with me, and I don't accept anything about what's happening right now.
Yes. So I love that interpretation of this. I was also interpreting it very similarly. Okay. That when you realize that you are your own all the time, you actually can start to shed responsibility for everyone else, and their actions and their choices are not for you to carry or to fix or to do anything with, for that matter. And your choices for yourself are what really matters. So I love that. That's a very nice message for this time of year. And I think it also sort of reflects, like you were saying, the where the universe has been in terms of, there's been a lot of chaotic energy. Last week, there was a lot of planets changing signs, eclipse season ending, all of these things.
Yeah.
So let's jump forward into this week's Why Though segment.
Yes. Please tell me why though.
Well, I think, okay. So there's actually a much slower week ahead in terms of, there are not planets changing signs, besides the fact that the sun goes into Gemini on May 21st. So that's ushering in Gemini season, which is why we're in our new sign Who Dis Gemini episode. But that's really it. Everything else is just moving steadily on, which is really nice. I did want to point out one interesting, because there's a lot of aspects happening. So aspects are when planets make connections with each other. There'll be a whole episode about that, not to say too much about that right now, but there is an interesting aspect that I wanted to talk about. So I hope, once again, that I can explain this, because I saw it as like a little equation in my head. So on May 28th, the sun in Gemini is going to square Saturn in Pisces. So I'm going to break this down into an equation with an equal sign at the end.
Wow, you're doing math right now. Mathology.
Well, mathology, here we go again. Okay, but there's no actual numbers, so I think I'll be okay. So we have the sun in Gemini, means yourself is in this place of busy energy and communication, right? Plus, the square is a type of aspect where there's a little bit of conflict or a little bit of challenge there.
Sure.
So you have that self in busy communication, sort of conflicting with Saturn in Pisces, which Saturn is your discipline, your responsibility,
right?
Which is being channeled through the sensitivity and the depth of Pisces.
Wow.
So I think the equal sign is that those things cancel each other out.
Oh, yeah.
And the message is relax and rest.
I love that.
And enjoy, because I think it's also interesting, it sort of falls on, in the U.S., what is Memorial Day weekend, which a lot of people take as a 3-day weekend, or that's like a federal holiday that you get off, like one of the very few that isn't like actual holiday in this country. So anyway, I just thought it was really nice. So that square is nothing to be afraid of.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so that's my little piece for the week.
I love that, and I love that you pointed out that I love that you illustrated it this way, because I think a lot of people think of squares as always being something just really, a lot of conflict and just really trying. Yeah. But this isn't. It just goes to show you that like any of the aspects can be any type of way. It just depends on how you interpret it and sort of if you embrace it or not or whatever.
Yes, and of course, if this ends up being challenging for you for some reason, like that's obviously valid, and like my heart goes out to you. But if you have a choice of maybe how to approach this ahead of time and like decide to take it in this way, I think that's always a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think that's always a good reminder. I think we're getting a lot of good reminders right now about resting and just like seeing the fruits of the labor that we've done and the seeds that we've planted. It's just a lot of that right now. So, and I'm really liking that a lot.
Definitely.
Abundance energy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I am in for that. And I think that's a reflection of coming out of Taurus season and just sort of that energy has been what's been filling us all up over the last month.
It's good stuff.
I know. It is good stuff. So, so a short why though, because, not too many things. So enjoy, rest, relax, have a good time.
Love that. It's great. Perfect.
All right. Does that mean
jumping in
that we're jumping in?
Yeah.
New sign, Who Dis, Gemini edition.
Yay.
So if you haven't watched any of the previous New Sign Who Dis episodes, after you're finished watching this one, go back and watch those because we have them for...
They're great.
They're so good.
They're some of my favorites.
They're some of my favorites too. And I think that what you end up seeing and what you end up seeing is what we end up experiencing.
Yes.
Which is like, as the episode wears on,
Yeah.
we change and develop different feelings and attitudes
Yeah.
toward these signs, and then we sort of tend to start like embodying this energy, which
It's
is what I
great.
was saying earlier. So
Yeah, it's really funny to see.
it's exciting.
That and the What the Cusp episodes, both of them. What the Cusp and the New Sign Who Dis.
Yeah, super. I feel like those get really intense.
They do. They feel intense.
So what is the intensity we are bringing today with our Gemini energy? There's a lot of it, right?
A lot of energy.
Yeah. So let's start with the facts. Let's lay out the facts like we like to do.
We
So
do.
as we just mentioned, the sun is going into Gemini basically currently. So Gemini season runs from approximately May 21st to June 20th.
Mm-hmm.
It is mutable air day energy. Yeah. So I think, well, what do you think?
I feel like, to me, yeah, I love talking out the combinations of the different like modalities and triplicities and all that. I feel like Gemini is like the quintessential airy air sign. Yes. Just
Because not only is it air, it's mutable.
it's mutable.
Which air, would say, is mutable.
And day.
And it's day, so it's very active.
Very active. Yeah, those things combined just make a total lot of sense, and just that nature of an air sign.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, it's the one that sort of like the last few we've talked about, logically, I think adds up, makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
But I think the fact that it's mutable air, and then I feel like that day is just like a punch.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's like, oh, mutable air day. Oh, hello. Like you're seeing it all happening.
Just all here.
Yes. Yes. Here and here and there and here and there
Yes.
and there and there again and here again. Yes, exactly.
I love it. I'm so here for it.
So much energy. So the glyph for Gemini is the twins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is where the stereotype comes in.
What stereotype would that be?
Yeah, exactly. Is Gemini the most hated on?
It's one of the most.
It's
hated.
one of the most.
Yeah.
And I think it maybe not all stems from that, but it stems a lot from that.
Yes, because the idea is that they are two-faced.
Yep.
They are duplicitous.
Yep.
They are, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, that type of thing. And yes, that is the stereotype. That is obviously a negative stereotype.
Yeah.
Could be true for unevolved versions of Gemini.
Absolutely.
And when we get to the birthdays edition, I will be naming some names in that regard. But yeah, Gemini gets hated on a lot.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I think, because it's such an easy image to latch onto and to understand on the surface. So people are like, oh, twins, two sides, two-faced, got it. Yeah. Even people who aren't into astrology and will say that they don't believe in astrology will talk shit on this and be like, oh yeah, don't ever like mess with the Gemini because they're two-faced. It's like, is that the one thing you know about astrology?
I think that is the one thing that a lot of people know about astrology. It's like, I know.
Dumb.
I know. Let's not go on a tangent, but let me just introduce a potential tangent for a different day.
Oh, I love it.
I absolutely hate when people don't believe in astrology, but then they insist on certain untrue truths that they get behind of why they don't believe in it. And I'm like, what?
Do they not see the circular logic that is inherent in that?
Evidently they don't.
And do they think that we really care what they think?
Well, no.
When they're practicing such circular logic, and I'm supposed to believe that you're an expert on something when you can't even like not include logical fallacies in your argument?
Well, but they don't expect you to understand that.
Well, clearly not.
Yeah.
I'm a female and I'm into astrology.
Exactly.
So I'm useless.
How smart could you be?
Throw her away. It's fine. I'll throw myself away.
Whatever. I'll get you out of the trash.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Okay, I won't.
Okay. Anyways, tangent averted.
Yeah.
Yes.
That,
no.
though.
Gemini has a bad reputation.
Yes.
It gets hated on.
Yes.
And it is generally unfounded, I will have to say.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't find this to be true. Not from any of my experiences.
No, well, and may I remind, this one here's a Gemini rising. So, and look at what an angel she is. Look at what a perfect, authentic angel she is.
How could it be any different?
Exactly.
It's me.
Exactly. No, so I mean, I think we do. No, I was going to say we do try to be unbiased in these opinions. That's false. We don't try to be unbiased.
We don't.
So it's not because you're a Gemini rising that I'm going to be like, Geminis really aren't all that bad.
No.
It's because they're not.
It's because they're not. And I'm not a Gemini sun. I'm a Gemini rising.
Well, right. And yes, absolutely. So, okay. So Gemini is the twins.
Yes.
But twins actually symbolize, and the intention, I think, of the twins being the symbol is that they symbolize duality and completion. It's the idea of two halves coming together to make a whole, or one whole that's kind of been split into two, but still continues to offer like a complete picture, which
Absolutely.
is beautiful. That's beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. And I will make a definitive statement. I feel like they are, if not the best, some of the best at perspective taking because of that.
Yes, correct. A Gemini can read a room like no other.
Yep.
They can strategically, not manipulatively, pick and choose who to talk to about what.
Yes.
And what to talk about with whom.
Yes. And they'll know what to say.
Yes.
And they'll have pieces of information
Yes.
and things to offer in any of those conversations.
Definitely.
Because they love information. They will know a little bit. And even if they encounter something they know nothing about, let's say that happens, which is rare for a Gemini, but let's say that happens, they can adapt and put themselves in the person's shoes so easily. Like they'll pick up on it before you even know it.
Yes, and that's that mutable quality, right? Of being able to adapt and adjust.
Right.
And, you know, in an unskillful, unevolved person, of course that could be manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also just highly skilled and natural for them
Very much
to be able to do. And if you're jealous of that, or if you feel like it's being used in a way that you don't like, you could label that person as manipulative, even if they're not.
Yeah, because, no, that's such a good point. Because, yes, they both can be true. I can see people, it is such a skill, so I can see people really using it to their advantage. But I can also see people getting very personally offended by this because they're not able to be as flexible and adaptable, and they're sort of very kind of stuck in the way that they are, so they can't understand that anyone else can be different.
Yes, and then it feels somehow threatening.
Yeah.
You know? But no, I don't think that's automatically what it is. And I will also say, with you, yourself, and knowing you, I feel like you're way better at talking to people than I am. And whatever, I can talk to people. I'll talk to anybody if I have to. But I can hold a conversation, but I also just feel like you are so, like, you'll be saying something to someone, and I'm just like, God, I would just be like, okay, well, so, bye. Like, but you're just, like, so engaging and so engaged, and it's so easy for you, even if you don't really care.
I know.
And not in a mean way, but just in the way of you're like, oh, yeah, no, I don't know. And I'm like, who was that? And you're like, oh, I don't know, just this person that I met like 2 times ago, and I saw him, and I'm like, what? Like, I would never talk to that person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I talk to everybody. People talk to me all the time.
I know. Well, people talk to me all the time, too, but I don't talk back. But you do.
I do, yeah.
It's so nice.
I get, like, very curious about, like, what they have to say and genuinely want to know, like, where they're coming from and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think there's that Gemini rising in there for sure, you know?
For sure. And it's definitely the rising part because it only goes as far as that.
Yes. That is very true. So, I know. Okay. I feel like we've already mentioned a couple things, which I think we're highlighting in a very positive way.
Sure.
Even though we've mentioned, of course, there's skillful and unskillful skillful versions of a Gemini, as there are with all the signs.
Absolutely.
There's evolved and unevolved people of all signs and all influences, right? So I think the unskillful version of Gemini, it is superficial.
Yeah.
and it is manipulative.
Yep.
Inconsistent, lacking sincerity.
Yeah, I do know.
Gossipy.
Yeah, because they want the tea. They want to know the tea. Yeah. They want to have the tea. They want to spill the tea.
Yeah.
They're tea partying all the time.
But not like the tea party, but yeah.
Right, not like the tea party. No, maybe.
Are they still a thing, or did that go away?
I feel like that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
I hope it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, someone thinks it is, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yes, they're Alice in Wonderlanding it up in the Mad Hatter's tea party. They love all of it. And that's honestly, I think, sometimes what is a little frustrating if it's an unskillful version of that. I know that can be frustrating for me as a fixed sign, just that flip-flop nature sometimes gets under my skin.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because you even also have this sign energy.
I do. I sometimes make myself mad.
Yeah.
Because of it, yeah. And I do. Sometimes I'm like, why am I even doing that? I don't really feel that way.
Well, but it's Mercury's influence.
Yeah.
So Mercury is the planet that is correlated and connected or has the rulership with Gemini.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as we know, when we talk about Mercury, it's going forward. It's retrograding. It's the closest to the Earth. So it's spinning fast, from our perspective. It's going around. Anyways.
Yeah, talking.
And Mercury is, the messenger.
Yeah, the messenger.
Gemini's the messenger, too.
Communication. Yeah, and so sometimes it's not the best forethought in that, or it's not the best thought out, processed information. It's just, I feel like it's like news flash sometimes, and it's like, okay, but did you really check your resources before you just issued that out? Well, no. Okay.
No, but I just heard it. So
I just heard it, and then they changed their mind 10 minutes later, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not to say don't trust a Gemini.
No,
but it's like trust but verify, right?
Trust but verify. And just keep in mind that they're going to be able to see it from all these different perspectives, maybe land on one at some point, but don't latch on too much to any of those before it solidifies, because it might frustrate you because you're like, well, I thought you just said this, and it's like, yeah, but that was 10 minutes ago before I really decided.
Yeah. It's like, well, then why did you say why did you say you decided? Well, because I did, but then I didn't later.
Yeah, I had to. What do you mean? Keep something to myself? What?
Yeah. Exactly. Did I say that?
Never heard of her.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very Gemini thing to be like, oh, did that just come out of my mouth?
Yes.
Did I just say that? And it's like, yes, you did. You definitely did.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're so just they don't take things really very personally like that.
No, and they move on so fast from it.
Oh, they're
whatever.
Yes, they're the biggest recover. I've literally witnessed Gemini do really embarrassing things and just laugh so much at it and laugh at themselves, and they're over it. Whereas I'm I have to quit my job. I need to leave.
Well, and that's your Scorpio coming in just to be mortified, I'm melting.
Yes. And they're just I just did that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so great. So great.
I love that. So, okay. So in a skillful version, we have curious.
Yes, curious.
Inspirational.
Oh, yeah.
Clever. Quick-witted.
So witty.
Witty. Thoughtful. Not in a, thoughtful and considerate way necessarily. Not that they're not that, but more in the they're thinking about something way.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, they can also be impulsive and quick, but I think they're always thinking about it, and then they're moving on to the next thought. So it's an energetic bouncing around.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think one of the things, that I also love about Gemini, and this is another sort of air sign connection, is that they revel in their individuality.
Oh, yes.
And they just love being who they are. And that is that air quality, which, links to the other air signs, but specifically I'm thinking Aquarius, which is just the even more heightened version of that uniqueness.
Totally. I feel like that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is such a distinct, amazing part of Gemini energy. And I feel and I love that you pointed out the difference too with Aquarius, because I feel like Gemini is the youthful air sign.
Yes, correct. And you're reminding me of our life cycle analogy, which is not ours, proprietary.
Right.
That's the astrological wheel is the life cycle. And so we're in the third sign.
Yeah.
We're in Gemini. We've moved up through the ages here. So Gemini really is the high school years.
Yeah.
It is the time, 14 to maybe even 20 or so, like getting into very early adulthood.
Yeah.
And for me, the image of a high schooler is somebody on their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about nowadays kids on their phone texting. I'm talking about when I was in high school and you were on the corded phone plugged into your kitchen wall and like trying to pull it into the other room and close the door. Like 100%. You're on the phone, you're talking, you're communicating. And this duality of trying to be who you are and trying to fit into a social structure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like they present that really well, that sort of like need to self-express, like words certainly, and everything, but even like in their aesthetic and everything else, like that need to be unique and be individual and express yourself, and like, man, I really have that.
Yeah.
Really, really have that.
Yes, and I think it's this kind of, so when we talked about the cusp in the previous episode, we were talking about that sort of being like the middle school years. So this is a little more evolved than that, but not much more. There's still a lot of discovery and a lot of trying on and a lot of really like fiercely adopting those identities even as they're changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
interesting too when I was thinking about the energy and everything else. And, it's all this talking, it's all this expressing, it's this emoting, right? It's all these things, and it's that day energy and, air energy. And I had this thought, like, can a Gemini be an introvert?
That's a good question.
Because when I was thinking about people I know, I'm like, they're not all, I would not describe them all as extroverted.
No. So, well, what are your thoughts on that? 'Cause I think that's correct.
Yeah. I definitely think they do, and I think that the difference, I just think like the same qualities are just expressed a little bit differently. Like that sense of curiosity, the sense of adventure. I feel like when I'm thinking a lot of the sort of more introverted Geminis I know, it's more expressed in terms of like they love to read and immerse themselves into fantasies and worlds and things where like they feel seen and understood and can like really get into. I feel like that's a large part of what an introverted Gemini might be into.
Definitely. And I think obviously depending on so many other influences, whether it's in your natal chart or in the environment or the household that you grow up in or various experiences that you have, all of these things are interplaying into how you are the way you are.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking like a Gemini sun who also has a Mercury in Gemini.
Yeah.
Like that is just doubling down and, and Mercury ruling Gemini in both of those placements. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
So you can see how if somebody's a Gemini and they have a Mercury in Taurus or in Cancer, like which are the adjoining signs, which could also be, the placement for Mercury.
Absolutely.
You're going to have very different way of communicating.
Absolutely.
And many other factors as well.
Yeah, because it's not just, I think,
But that energy is still present.
It's still present.
It's
just
point.
Expressed differently. Yeah, like they may not be like you described where I'm just like talking to people in person, because I do that, and I feel like it's a little bit more extroverted in that way. But like they might be talking a lot or expressing a lot, but it might be like in the written word or online or something.
Yes, online, or that person who like you don't know them very well, and then you learn and you go in their house, in their room, and they have like 700 paintings that they painted.
Yes.
And they've expressed themselves like through this prolific art that you didn't even maybe know that they did, and that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting how it can be like it's that energy that's present, but just expressed all kinds of different ways.
Yes.
Which it's important to talk about these things because that's how people can feel like, oh, okay, that makes sense and I can identify. Otherwise, when it's like, reductive, then people are like, I don't identify with that. That's not me.
Yeah, and I think that's also another thing that sort of turns people off to astrology sometimes is if they're hearing the, more traditional or stereotypical version of this, maybe they're a Gemini or they know a Gemini and they're like, well, the person I know isn't like that. That's all BS.
Yeah.
Without, if you don't get into the nuance of how that energy can be expressed and look really different, even though it's present.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a very Gemini conversation to be having about Gemini.
It is.
We're like, well, let's look at it from this side. And actually, if you go on this side, it's still really valid. And if you put them together, it's all this one thing. Right?
Look at that.
I know.
Look what we did there.
I know. Okay, another thing I love about Gemini energy, can I just say?
Yes, you can.
A Gemini will stand up for their ideas, their beliefs, for other people. It doesn't mean they will always stand up for themselves. They need to learn to do that if that doesn't come as naturally, but they will speak up for other people.
I see it all the time.
And they will, yes, you do this all the time too.
Yeah.
You know, and they will defend their ideas and their beliefs because they hold them really, really dear.
Yes, and they will defend other people's rights to have them, no matter how strange, like, other people might see them.
Yes.
They will defend to the death the right for someone to be able to express themselves and
Yes.
in whatever way that shows up. I
Yeah,
love that.
and that is one of my favorite sort of Gemini qualities.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, they're not a black and white type of, they are such a rainbow.
Yes, exactly. So, okay, that also brings to mind, I always share an image that goes with each sign, and to just contrast with the previous air sign, which we've covered, which was Aquarius, the image for that was a bolt of lightning.
That's right.
Or a flash of lightning, rather. The flash that lights up the air in the sky. And for Gemini, it is a butterfly. So you have butterflies, they barely stop, they barely rest, they're up in the air, they're floating, they're flying, they're delightful, you see them, but you can't really catch them all the time. But then again, you're not supposed to. Like, they're supposed to be of the world. And you know, I just feel like it's a good contrast to see the different way that air energy shows up in these different signs.
That's beautiful, and it makes so much sense.
I know, and I really like it too because it is like youthful and sweet, and it represents spring really well, which is sort of the spring into summer, you know, season that we're in right now.
And colorful.
Yes, and expressive, and
expressive.
And kind of has like a special way of communicating too. I feel like people get communications from butterflies a lot.
The people talk about that all the time, and I
Yes.
fully believe in that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely,
what a great
definitely.
image.
Yes, I liked that. I liked that one.
It's perfect.
So I have some advice for Gemini.
Oh, you do? I love it. I have like one tiny piece of advice, but I feel like I kind of said it.
So, and it might repeat things I've already said too. But my first one is, since Gemini is so much about communicating, communication and talking and expressing, I think sometimes they can lean towards saying too much or saying things in a way just however it comes out.
Yeah.
So if you have Gemini energy, or even just if your Mercury's in Gemini, learn to polish your communication skills.
Yeah,
so that you can be more effective in your communication. Because I think sometimes Gemini falls into the trap of expressing just to be expressing.
Yeah.
And then maybe even getting frustrated that it seems like no one's hearing what they're trying to say.
Yes.
So it's like, hone your message, polish your skills, make sure you're actually being heard for all of the great ideas and the great communication that you have.
Absolutely valid. And I'm like thinking of examples in my head of people. And yeah, it's so true. Like, I feel like because they feel so strongly about like standing up for those things, like you said, and like really expressing and stuff, like they put themselves in, I don't want to say put themselves in, but I think maybe they find themselves in situations where it's an unsafe communication situation where the other person is really not interested in understanding them or seeking to understand.
Yeah.
And instead of like recognizing that a little bit more readily, they sort of keep trying and then hurting themselves.
Yeah, because they're so sort of impassioned about it that they end up just definitely.
And then really get like their feelings hurt and don't recognize that like, okay, this isn't a place where you need to be trying to do that. Just,
Yes. So, and my other little piece of advice is that there's so much energy associated with Gemini, so much energy. And that if you can develop some kind of routine with physical activity, get some of that energy out, which gives you the opportunity to rest and learn to relax and maybe go inward a little bit more. Because I think the tendency is to express outward.
Yeah.
So I think pairing physical activity with then learning to rest, relax, and go inward. Like, I don't think you can just be like, rest, relax, go inward. Like, you can't just tell that to a Gemini. So you're going to be like, I don't know how. So my suggestion is do something physical.
Yes.
And then recover from that intentionally and use that to learn the other skill.
Absolutely.
So
And-
two things go hand in hand. It's a pair. It's a duality. It's a twin.
Look at that.
I didn't know that when I wrote it.
I love that.
I love it too.
Amazing. Yeah, use your curious minds to come up with what serves you physically, and even if you have to try 50 things, you might try 50 things.
You probably will, but just pick one at the end. Just pick one. Pick one.
Yeah.
Pick
the best one.
If you have Libra in your chart, you're really going to struggle with
Oh
it.
yeah, that's rough.
I know, but anyway.
I literally can't pick.
Yeah, like my Mars is in Libra and I'm a Gemini. I can't pick anything ever. Good heavens. Yeah, no, so those are just my little bitty bits of advice. So we have your very special reveal, I feel always is at the end.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So before we do that, I feel like I am just the Gemini energy right now. I feel like I am talking so much in this episode.
I think we both are.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm talking really fast. And I just said that really fast.
I'm going to try to speak slower because I also feel like we've been talking really fast.
Just like, and then like, but it's okay. Like, you can do it. But like, it's fine. And then...
yeah, but then also, but what about this? Like, we forgot about this. And
like,
then
think about that, but like, don't think about that. But like, maybe you think about it, but like, think about it later. But...
we're just like, what? Oh my gosh. I know. Ooh, so much love for all of you Geminis. It is not easy.
I know.
So there are always famous people.
Yeah.
And there's some doozies in this Gemini season. So, okay.
Okay.
I'm going to name the worst one first.
Oh, God, go.
Donald Trump. So I think what we see here is a completely unevolved, unskilled, worst possible version of a Gemini.
Oh, God. His Twitter.
Yeah. So all the things we said about being unskilled and unevolved, it's all there.
Oh, yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But do not let that be your one person that you think, oh, well, that's how Geminis are. It's not. That's how he is. He's got a lot of other problems, not just in his astrology chart.
Yeah.
So
yes.
His chart's super fascinating, though, by the way. So just to get that one out of the way. Next, we have another, and this is interesting, too, because it is a sort of duality or not a twin, but a situation where we have John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
Both Geminis. And clearly had a historical connection to one another.
Yes.
Allegedly, she had an affair with him when he was president. And, allegedly. But I think if you take each of them individually as well, they lived these sort of double, kind of not all fully their lives.
Oh, my gosh.
Right?
Yes. Ugh, I'm like gagged.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
a good one.
I'm thinking about Blonde and just how much like
I know.
I can't
knew
think.
you were gonna say.
I know.
That.
I'm like mad at myself for saying it because like it just.
I know. So if you're a reader, and even if you're not, Joyce Carol Oates wrote this novel. It's called Blonde. It is a fictional biography of Marilyn Monroe, and it is immersive and disturbing.
It's life changing. It really is.
Life changing. It's amazing. So that was a side note. Read it. Look it up. There's also a movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen it,
I haven't seen it.
refuse to see it,
Yeah,
even
no,
if it's
I
really
can't.
good.
I can't do
watch
it. No,
So
because that book,
that book, it's like it's haunting. It haunts you. And Joyce Carol
rest of your
Oates
life.
is amazing. Everything she writes is haunting and beautiful.
100%. But that like was so unexpected and like
I was shocked.
same.
Yes.
And when you just said that, it drew up all the feelings of what I felt when I was reading it.
I know.
And like whether Joyce Carol Oates knew sort of stuff about astrology or Gemini energy or anything like that, I'm not really sure if she did.
Yes.
But whether she did or she didn't, it was so present.
There's so much of it in there. And the way that Marilyn, the character in the book, experiences people in her reality in these kind of twinship, kinship kind of ways and these twin stars. Anyways, wow. Anyways, yes. Okay.
Amazing.
Yes. Amazing. Also, to name another one, Paul McCartney is a Gemini.
Aw,
and
Sir Paul.
I love Sir Paul. And, I think just even looking at his relationship with like John Lennon and his relationship with his late wife, Linda McCartney, like he was so willing and able to pair up so closely and intimately with someone. I think that's a reflection of that Gemini need too. That need to be that connected and that close to a person.
Totally.
So, yes. Another fun one, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say it, but we're going to say it. So, Elle Woods, the character in Legally Blonde, is also a Gemini.
I'm Elle Woods, Mrs. Bruiserwitz. We're both Gemini vegetarians.
Yeah, Turner dog. That's what I thought was silly and funny. And, okay, the last one. I know I said I was going to say the worst one first, and I don't mean to name this person as comparable to Donald Trump, because there's really nobody worse than Donald Trump. But I have this cat.
Oh, Jesus.
And she's a Gemini. And she's really bad. She's really bad.
So bad.
And she's so cute. She's calico.
She's so cute.
She's the cutest cat you'll ever see. And she's naughty, rotten to the core. But then she rolls over and she's adorable. It's so frustrating.
She's a bonded pair to my cat.
She is. And she is an unskilled Gemini.
Horrible.
So anyways, that's, anyway, those are Gemini people. There we go.
Can I just name one?
Oh, of course you can.
One of my
always.
faves. Stevie Nicks.
Oh, yes. See?
Yeah.
That's such a good one.
I know. Makes a lot of sense.
It does. She definitely is like always like embodying like both sides of like femininity,
Totally.
like, everything. So
She's so witchy and so cool.
She's so cool.
I know.
Super cool. Good one. I always love your add-ons. It's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes I have them and sometimes I really don't.
Yeah.
So
no, but whenever you do, they're really good. So
thanks.
Okay. All right. Now it's time.
Okay.
So every new sign who dis, Ashley has assigned a social media. So what is Gemini?
Gemini is TikTok.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Gemini is TikTok.
Gemini is TikTok. Like,
yeah, TikTok
essentially,
is
TikTok
Gemini.
is Gemini. Gemini is TikTok.
Even the names, like TikTok, like TikTok.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. Yep.
Horrible. I mean, wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, TikTok is the ultimate place to get the tea on social media. It just really is. And it's both in a macro and a micro way. But I think the way that it embodies that Gemini energy is in that micro way. There's these little kind of controversies that are happening on TikTok all the time.
Yes, all the time.
Recently, there's this tattoo gate one where it was like this tattoo artist and like what she did. And so people are stitching that video and it's getting passed all around. And that happens and it's sort of like a flash in the pan.
Yes.
And then it dies down. And then there's a new one, right? And it's like cake gate, tattoo gate. And there's like all these different sort of...
I love how everything's a gate now.
Yeah, I know.
I mean... I know it's like Watergate, like I know, but it's like...
So was that the actual name of the place? I know.
Yes, that was the name of the actual hotel where that happened.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Strange.
I know.
He made like a weird portmanteau out of that word.
Just exactly. Just you add it onto anything and it means...
Super weird.
Scandal.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and, TikTok, I mean, it's setting the trends right now. And it's really like determining the cycle of those trends. Like... what used to be the trend cycle where sort of like the corporations and then it would trickle down, like think of like the speech from Devil Wears Prada. It's not like that anymore.
Now it's like the ground.
Yes. Now the influencers are sort of setting that and it's cycling through and it's cycling through so fast, which is, very Gemini energy as well. So many niche interests. Yes. So anything you're into, I don't care what it is, some little subreddit of an interest, somebody on TikTok is making videos about it and you can stitch them and that in the way that your feed is curated because of the algorithm that way.
Yeah.
And it like you're just getting things very quickly and it's very kind of simple and straightforward. It's like small. I mean, they're extending the times on it now, but it's still like small.
Yeah, it's meant to be small.
Yeah. It's fast.
Like small as in fast and accessible and it's here and it's gone and now on to the next.
And you can borrow sounds from people and then create sort of your own take and your own individual.
Yes, you can personalize it even more.
And the creativity on TikTok, the things you can learn, the stuff that you can engage in. It's vast. Like you can't even describe it. Like I feel like you can't. But yeah, it's that one-stop shop, right? For info, inspiration, chisme, gossip,
Yeah.
all of it.
I honestly think, like, I love all of these that you have done, and I love your explanations, but they also need no explanation.
Right.
Gemini is TikTok.
Yep.
You heard it here. I think that about wraps it up for our new sign Hootist Gemini edition. So, until next time, just remember, we love everyone in all signs, or at least we don't not love you because of your sign.
Dumb Witch Club is written and produced by us, Ashley Sidner.
And Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Creative director and culture consultant, Violet Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. And look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.